Lane Kiffin, of all of Saban's assistants, and we all know how many there are and how successful, is one of the few that can get under Nick Saban's skin. So that's exactly what Lane is doing. When he worked for Saban, Saban told a friend, I feel like I've got a 16-year-old here sometimes I'm trying to manage. And Kiffin is taking advantage of that. But other than Kiffin winning maybe the war of words, I don't think there's much else he can win. The weather could slow Alabama down. The Mac Jones passing attack has been downright brilliant. But this is a mismatch under almost any conditions, including hurricane conditions. Zubin, I don't think it's going to be too close, but the before and after conversations between Lane and Nick Saban might be the most entertaining thing we see Saturday.
Let's move a little bit over into pro football, but stay in college at the same time. When you look at Dabo Swinney, and you look at the firing of Houston's Bill O'Brien from yesterday, and Dabo Swinney's out there with a quarterback like Deshaun Watson with such high praise when he played for him, is there any opportunity or chance that you could see him bounce at the end of the year and look to the pros?
It's an intriguing question. I don't think so. Certainly, Deshaun Watson is Dabo Swinney's one of his most favorite players and the player that really put him on the map. But I just don't think Dabo wants any part of that. And just all you have to do is look at O'Brien's past. I mean, moderate success, and he's gone before we get to the second weekend in October. And Dabo Swinney has one of the greatest jobs in the world. He's making $9 million a year. He lives in a comfortable small town where he is the king. Nothing really is going to change that. Losing a national championship last year didn't really affect anything because he's won two. And between 1981 and 5 years ago, Clemson had not won any. So that's why he's so important. And he's also recruiting as well as anybody in the country, Keyshawn. So to give all that up, to go to the NFL, to just be another coach, and you and I both know that's what he will be. Nick Saban tried this about 15 years ago, and he really did not stand out in his 2 years in Miami. If Nick Saban can stand out, Dabo Swinney knows he probably can't. He would bring some energy to the NFL, but I think the chances of him going are infinitesimal.
Paul, his $9.3 million salary would make him the fifth highest paid NFL coach if he actually were to go into the next ranks. But look, they struggled a little bit against North Carolina last year. Clemson gave them a run for their money. Is North Carolina even a bigger threat against them this year, Coach Mack?
They could be. I mean, this is a really interesting game Saturday night. Luke Campbell just tweeted at me saying that Miami is going to win the game, but when was the last time Uncle Luke was right? So I don't see it happening. I think it's intriguing. King is really a good quarterback for Miami. I think it will be interesting. And Clemson has not been great so far. The competition has had something to do with that. But I think North Carolina will be a major test. And don't forget about Notre Dame as well. That's the second Saturday night in November. And that's probably looming as one of those 2 or 3 biggest games of the year in college football, which will also include Alabama hosting Georgia next week. So what Mack Brown has done, and we'll save this maybe for that weekend, what he's done at North Carolina is phenomenal, and he's really done it from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, he showed up in Chapel Hill a year and a half ago and immediately started beating people for players that were going to Clemson, that were going to Georgia, that were going to Alabama and elsewhere, and that's really what's lifted his program up.
Paul, let me ask you this, and I know you have a pretty good take on it. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M was brought in the middle of the night to replace Kevin Sumlin, who was fired and went to Arizona later on at Texas A&M, paid him a handsome ransom to be competitive. That has not happened at all since he's been at A&M. Who's to blame and what's the problem?
Well, there are a lot of reasons for that, and I think for the most part, it took him longer to get established than maybe fans expected. In defense of Jimbo, and you rarely hear me doing something like this, Key, his schedule last year was virtually impossible. He had everybody who was anybody on the schedule, from Georgia to Clemson to LSU and Alabama. So there was really virtually no chance last year was going to be the breakout. But the problem this year has been the quarterback play of Kellen Mond. I mean, They lost by 28 points against Alabama Saturday, and I heard from some fans yesterday who said, well, it wasn't all that bad. I mean, that's not why you pay someone $75 million. So what does it mean? Saturday is critical. I'm not saying Jimbo Fisher is in danger of losing his job, because he's not. The buyout would be astronomical. And in Texas, sometimes it really just depends on the price of oil that day, whether you want to spend the money or not. But again, against Florida, Florida's coming to town. They're riding high. They're playing as well as anyone around. And if Florida walks in there and beats them, and it's not really close, I think the pressure will start to intensify, especially from a recruiting standpoint, where he has done very well. And he's also missing a golden opportunity, guys. Tom Herman is failing at Texas. He's failing to elevate that program to a championship level. I mean, they're winning, but they're not winning like Texas fans thought. So the greatest opportunity within the most fertile recruiting base in the country is being missed on by Jimbo. And I think it's not a serious problem yet, but it could become one.
Paul, you mentioned Florida. How impressive is Kyle Pitts along with Kyle Trask, the quarterback for the University of Florida? And is he, Kyle Trask, the quarterback, is he a Heisman finalist?
Right now he could be, and what's so interesting about Kyle Trask is he grew up in Texas. His family were Texas A&M fans. He was the backup in high school to De'Ara King, who went from Houston to Miami, and he wasn't even supposed to be the starter last year. He has been brilliant, and right now, I mean, if you look at the Heisman polls, which I must say are worthless at the moment because we haven't seen Justin Fields play a down of football. Those two are among the top 3 or 4 candidates right now. I mean, the two Kyles in Gainesville are pure money, but Trask could be. Heisman, as we all know, very much depends on your team and your ability to separate yourself, and he could easily do that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.